What word is 3 letters long and responsible for millions of deaths in America each year? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Gun is the most common answer, however, it is incorrect. The correct answer is STDs, also known as sexually transmitted diseases. Approximately over 3 million adolescents in the United States contract some form of STDs each year. Forms of STDs include chlamydia, gonorrhea, genital herpes, genital warts, pubic lice, HIV and AIDS, HPV, syphilis, bacterial vaginosis, and trichomonias. These STDs could increase the risk of HIV infections. HIV and AIDS is one of the most urgent healthcare concerns, and it is significantly increasing. In America, the annual age for indulging in sexual activities is 15. Without the proper knowledge and perception of how viruses and diseases can be transmitted and prevented, the number in young people will continue to drastically increase. The communication of HIV is done so in a few forms. Those forms include unclean needles, vaginal discharge, pre-cum, semen, blood, rectal fluids, and breast milk. Contrary to the myths, HIV is not spread through touch, saliva, urine, sweat, or tears. HIV is not passed, it's just not exchanged by touching doorknobs or mosquito bites, or touching toilet seats, or even touching an infected person. I mean, I know we've all heard the myths that that's how it's passed, but it's not true at all. The likelihood of transmitting HIV through oral sex and even kissing is pretty narrow. Unless one partner has big open sores on their genital area or bleeding sores in their mouth, and it's typically not passed through oral sex or kissing as well. Persistent preventive methods include interventions, sexual education courses that are typically provided through grade school. Colleges also offer free testing, and informative classes are also provided for homosexuals, so that's pretty helpful. Those are pretty helpful whenever adolescents take advantage of those opportunities. Overall, almost all adolescents focus groups seek to inform teens of preventative actions, straying away from risky behaviors, and striving to create an informational and motivational intervention program. In the article, Sex and HIV Education Program, Their Impact on Social Behaviors of Young People Throughout the World, it discusses the impact curriculum based on education pertaining to adolescents' understanding of HIV and sexual behaviors. This article focuses on 2 main questions. What are the effects, if any, of the curriculum-based sex education programs on risky sex behaviors? And what are the common characteristics of the curriculum-based programs that were affected in changing sexual risk behaviors? The author expressed the views of sexual education taught in schools as a solution to decreasing HIV and STDs among adolescents. Sex education is typically taught for approximately 2 weeks in grade school. However, that 2-week program could not possibly explain everything there is to know for an adolescent prior to indulging in sexual activities. The program are designed to inform students of the most relevant sexual based risk, yet the distractions of peers in a classroom, it's just, I don't think students really take advantage of the sexual intercourse classes that are offered during grade school because they're just shy about, talking about sex with adults, and their peers are around them. So I don't think that they learn as much as they can in those courses, but they do grasp something from it. Overall, the study that this article spoke about was that the sexual intercourse classes that are taught in school have a more positive effect than negative, which I totally agree with. Out of 83 studies, 65% of adolescents had a positive impact on their sexual behaviors or outcome, and only 7% had a negative impact. The positive impact the program had on the adolescents remained for about a month or so, and some for about a year. And when I say that sort of impact, that positive impact is they remembered, the pictures that were shown of STDs. So I think it kind of scares them a little to make them not have unprotected sex. And sometimes after that fear kind of wears off, then they'll begin to start indulging into sexual activities without using protection, and that's when things like STDs and will kind of come into play. I have a visual aid to kind of explain what I was speaking about. And the visual aid that I'm providing is if he sleeps with this guy, we'll call him Jim. Jim is affected with gonorrhea. He then sleeps with Mary, who doesn't know that Jim is affected with gonorrhea, who then sleeps with Mike, who now becomes infected because he slept with her who was infected. Mike then sleeps with 2 other women that become infected. Here's the second woman that Mike slept with, who then comes into contact with another male who then becomes infected because he slept with this little lady, who then sleeps with someone else. Make sure everyone can see these clearly. Who then sleeps with someone else. And my point in this visual aid is none of these characters know each other. None of them are aware of any of each other's health issues, yet they've all been infected because one has slept with one person and another has slept with another person, and now they've all come into contact without knowing. It's sort of like a domino effect. And I think adolescents don't realize that just because you slept with one person doesn't mean that you're not sleeping with the people that they've slept with prior to you. And I think that's kind of where the miscommunication comes in at, because adolescents just simply don't think further than right there in the moment. And I think that ultimately to be safe to not contract STDs and HIV and things such as protection, knowing, just being knowledgeable of how contracting and transmitting STDs work, but also prior to having unprotected sex, if that's the way that adolescents decide to go, I definitely think that as a couple, as a unit, they should both go and get tested together, because that's just another preventative method that will help to remain safe and to keep from transmitting, amongst just people. I think that will also help.